a teaser video on this, which it was exactly that, a teaser video. This is a Thunder Tiger FM-1, but this is the Ducati 999R Testastretta. They come with different fairings and everything up underneath the body, which it's a fairing, and all this stuff can be changed out, and I'll be going over that. The steering is completely different from anything you're used to with the on-road vehicle. I'll go over that. Filling the tank, all of that I'll go over. The reason I haven't done a video yet is yesterday I got the final piece, which are the side guard bars, which what they do is when you turn, when you're first learning, when you turn, it only lets the bike fall that far instead of falling all the way over. And if you fall that far, you can actually get back up from it. And now, as you can see right here, this front wheel is loose. So I'm going to take the top off. There's a couple of things with this that you have to be careful. And I'll probably go ahead and take the fairing off as well. And to take the fairing off, you have to take the side guards off. There's that side. And you can see the front wheel is turning, but the servo isn't turning. And I'll get to that in just a second and why. I Loctite these grub screws that hold these bars in place. So anytime you go to run it, you have to do any type of maintenance or even get it ready for running. You have to do all this and then put it back on. And once you get it running, it's not hard to fuel up, and that's also a job in itself. So there's the fairing and everything. The fuel tank is down at the bottom. Darn it, both of them fell. There it is. Now these side guard bars you have to have when you're learning, and it comes with this stand. So now you can actually see everything up. I'll turn it this way so you can actually see the carburetor side. This is a Thunder Tiger 0.129, I believe it is, size motor. So about a 0.13. The carburetor is right here, and the exhaust comes out the top. One problem with that is after you run, anybody that knows nitro, there's always a certain amount of unburnt oil. So after you run it, you have to sit it up like this so all that unburnt oil will drain out of the exhaust and not go into the engine. And basically what that will do is when you go to turn it over, it'll hydrolock the engine. And also with this, you have to use a drill to start it. It's a drill start. So you have to have the right bit, which I have it, and you put the drill to it and give it power, and it turns it over and starts up. And also the glow plug, where you put this right here, is right here, not into the engine. If you have a long enough shaft, yes, you can put it into the engine, but it has something similar to the Traxxas, but it doesn't use a wand or anything. It just relocates where you plug in the glow plug igniter. Now another interesting thing is the steering itself. The steering, you can see you have sort of this shock that is double sprung. So you can see it's sprung that way and it's sprung that way. Well, let's get it centered up. Yeah, that's about centered. And you can change the shock fluid in this, so it'll be a little more difficult to spin it quickly. And it's known as a steering dampener. With these, when you go to steer and when you turn the wheel right, it actually turns the front wheel left. Because these don't have any weight on top of them to push over to one side, when you turn left, it actually throws the bike to the right. Imagine if you're in a car and you turn left. All the G forces are pushing you to the right. Same with this. When you turn left, the G-forces are going to make it lean right. And when it leans right, the steering dampener kicks in, and you see the wheel actually turns right. So when you actually turn left or right, it's going to turn that wheel that way, and then the steering dampener will, so let's say I want to turn right, it'll turn the wheel left, and then it'll lean in, and then the servo will straighten up. I mean, you just sort of tap it real quick. I haven't driven it yet. I'm waiting. Right now it still has a 27 megahertz system in it, and I don't like 27 megahertz. I have 4 receivers coming. They should be here on the 5th. And I'll replace that. The battery is down here. The fuel tank is right here. The carburetor is right here. And with these, since this motor is actually sitting sideways, when you start it, you actually have to have it up like this so you don't flood it. Right now it doesn't have an air filter on it, but I'm going to rig up a good air filter. Not this. This is way too big. But I have some smaller air filters like this one right here. It's not all that great, but it would work, but it gets in the way of the steering. Now it doesn't. I could run that, but that's too big. And also that thing's old. This is actually a old engine saver air filter, because you can tell by the screen. Then I have this air filter that came off my dragster, but again, too big, gets in the way. So yeah, still got to figure out the air filter. So yeah, you can actually see the motor is like that. The inside the tank, here's your fuel tank. Inside the tank there's actually a pickup tube that swings back and forth. I don't know how well that can be seen. You can hear it. There's a little pickup tube, so if you lean right, it'll pick up, because that's just the way it's done. And also, fueling this, it came with a fuel bottle, but mine didn't. This thing has been sitting since 2003, so this thing's 14 years old, and it's never been ran. I've broken it in. I have broken it in now. But this is just a meat injector, a meat tenderizer injector, and it's 30 milliliters. And this tank is about 50 milliliters. So if I pull this back about right here and fill it up with, again, I use O'Donnell 30% race blend. And then you have this little line right here. There's 3 lines. You have the line that comes from the front of the tank to the carburetor. You have the pressure line that comes from the exhaust, and then you have the fill line. With the fill line, there is a little plug because you don't want to lose any fuel pressure. Great. I always drop those screws. Well, either way, I'll find it. You take this, you put it into the tube, and then you push it in and you push the fuel in. Just like that. And then you take the screw. If I can find it quickly, I'm not going to waste a lot of time looking for a screw. Yeah. But you take the screw and you put it back on, and that keeps the tank pressurized. Because, as we all know with nitros, you have to keep the fuel tank pressurized. That's how you get fuel pressure to the carburetor. What else? Like I said, it's got a Ace RC TR203A, just a 2-channel transmitter. Receiver. Works. I got a transmitter with it, but again, 27 megahertz. I'm not looking to run this a lot. I would like to run it just to learn how to drive it, because with a regular car, you turn left, it turns left. With this, like I said, if you're on a bike and you turn right, because it's gonna suddenly go that way, it's gonna fall to the left. But we humans lean into the turn. Well, there's no weight up here to lean into the turn. There are with new ones, like electric ones. That's mostly what you're gonna see. Nuova Feor also has a SF701 that's also nitro, but it's $1,000. I'll eventually get one. It's all carbon fiber. This one's all aluminum. Everything is aluminum, except for the spur gear. I'll definitely need to get a few extra spur gears, but everything is set great. It's chain drive, a tiny little chain. I gotta keep turning it back and forth. It's got a nickel metal hydride, 800 milliamp hour battery. So yeah, you got a chain drive. You can change these sprockets. There is right now I just have, on the other side, again, there's a disc brake, vented disc brake. I'm going to get the dual disc brakes for the front. And actually that reminds me, I need to look at these wheels real quick and see if they are hex at all. And I can't really tell. I'll have to take the wheel off to actually see if there has a hex, but there's supposed to be a hex on it, so you can put a disc on each side and a disc and a caliper. Right now these are just faux, these are plastic, and the brake is actually done by a wire that's connected to the servo, which would be, where to go? Yeah, right here is the throttle servo and everything. One goes to the throttle, which is this linkage right here, and then deeper up in there you have a wire which has a little clamp off, and like a bike brake. That's how it works. And like I said, I haven't driven this yet, so I imagine it's going to be fun. It's going to be a learning experience. And like I said, after you get done driving it, you actually have to set it up like this, because all that unburnt oil will go back down into the, you have to lean in to get something. There are stands you can get, but all that oil will drip out of the pipe, and you put down a paper towel or something. And that's what I did after every break-in cycle. I would have it like this, because with a drill you have to have some type of drill with a clutch setting. You can't run it full bore, because if it goes into hydro lock, you're going to kill the motor. Navarossi does make a motor for this as a 0.15. I mean, you could probably put a 2.5 on this. A Traxxas 2.5. It has the same mounting positions, but it would have to be the Pro 15, because this is a side exhaust instead of a rear exhaust, so I'd have to figure out something for it to come out this way. Yeah. RD Logics also makes a better muffler for it, well, exhaust, but I'm going to keep mine all stock except for the radio and adding front brakes to it. The one thing that's nice is the fairing, there's no body clip. You just clip it on right here. You can add body clips if you want, but honestly, no need to. There's little grommets right here and right here. And you can see by this body, there's the only little bit of scratches on it is from me running it in, breaking it in, and there's a little bit of scratched off the paint right there. Some on this side from this right here. But that's really about all that is, and I can patch that up with some red. So that's the fairing. All it is a body with a huge hole, and you put it back on like this. You put it over the front tire, and then you push it onto the little things. The front ones are broken because the person that I had it, he has kids, and sometimes kids don't know how to not touch things. So it fell over a couple times, but overall, I'm very happy with it. I really couldn't ask for more when it comes to this. And then of course you have the top, which once I get a better radio, this long wire is going to go. So imagine this being gone, and then all I have to do is put this on and put that on. First I'm going to drive it, get used to driving it, and then I'm going to do a video of it driving. After I drive it the first time, I'm going to basically tell people how it works. With this, if you don't give it throttle or just a little bit of a throttle, it'll make a tighter turn. The more you get on the throttle, it'll stand back up, and you'll go through a wider turn. So you steer more with, you have your more accurate steering using the gas and the brake. If you want, like I said, if you want a tighter turn, you give it a little bit of throttle. With a wider turn, you give it a little more throttle, and when you want it to stand back up, you give it maybe full throttle. And yes, these things can wheelie. They can do wheelies. Right now, I'm running it. This one came with complete slicks, but they're somewhat of a hard compound, so I'm going to do my trick to them to soften the rubber some. WD-40 on them and wrap them. But yeah, that's a Thunder Tiger FM1 Ducati. They also have a Ducati Desmonici or something like that. I can't remember. It's more of a, it came before this one. This one came after that one. After this one, they started going more into electrics. And anybody that watches my channel, my channel is called Nitro Revolution for a reason. I like to get people into nitro like this. If we can get manufacturers to start making vehicles like this again, there's a lot more people that would get into nitro. This is an awesome bike, but you'll have to get used to the fact that when you steer, you're not going to get a tighter turn by turning right, or if you're trying to turn left, you're not going to get a tighter turning radius by turning left, because when you turn left, the bike is actually turning right. Because, like I said, when you turn left, that's going to make it fall over, and then the wheel will turn by itself. And then, like I said, as you give it speed, it'll straighten up because of what's known as caster. I think, I'm not exactly how many degrees of caster this has. I'd guess probably about 23 degrees of caster. Caster is the basically usually steering knuckles, but with this, forks lean back. With choppers, they're leaned back further, but with the choppers, you don't get the tight radius turning like you do with these. They're more cruisers. Like I said, the whole thing's aluminum. The rear swing arm is aluminum. It has a monoshock in the rear. It has they're friction shocks, but I found some oil shocks already. There's a lot of parts still available for this, but a lot of the parts that got used up a lot are gone. Just trying to find some front brake discs and calipers has been a little tough, but I've only started looking today. So yeah, after you get it done and you get it running, or once you get it primed and everything, I've already had to pull the glow plug probably 20 times because it had flooded. These are very, until you get it tuned, and I didn't know what the tuning, what the needle settings were, so I was tuning blind, but I got it tuned. It took some time, but I got it. Where did my screwdriver? There it went. Tighten these back down. And then once you get good at it, good at driving these, you can actually take these bars off and let it fall further over, and you'll get even a tighter turning radius. And then you turn it around. This is a lot better than the Hobby Lean version. With it, the stand is a lot weaker, thinner. I mean, this is, I'll show in just a second how thick that metal is. Let me get these back on, and we'll go over a few other things, and that'll be it until a running video. But yeah, I also got to put a new screw back in, well, a new plug back in there. It basically just uses a screw. Where you at? And then your on-off switch for the receiver is right here. Just right. It's very easy, so you can get to it without having to take everything off. And the person before me had it. He never ran it, but he, like right here, the fairing is right up against the screw that holds the clutch bell in place. I'm going to put a better motor in this eventually, because maybe, I don't know. Honestly, with it being collectible, I really don't want to change anything except maybe add something. I'm going to add all digital servos. But the past person trimmed this right here so he could get to the starter. But his dad actually raced these kind of bikes. He had the Nuova Feora SF501, and that's about a $750 bike. And this one, I'm not going to say how much I paid, but I paid a pretty penny for it. They do about 35 to 40 miles an hour. This is a fifth scale. You have to realize motorcycles are smaller than an actual car in real life. So if you were to actually take a fifth scale RC and put it next to this, it would look right. Because, yeah, these are fifth scale. Just make sure I went over everything. There's a chain tensioner back here. Just like on a real bike. Everything is just like on a real bike, except there's no weight up here. They come with riders, but again, he let his kids have the rider. I saw the rider, and his limbs were missing. So, yeah, that's not that big of a deal to me. And if I had the drill and everything, I'd actually try to start it up, but I already had sort of a teaser video of it running. It's going to be real fun, but it's raining right now out here, and we have a strong line of storms coming. It's almost 8 p.m. But I really I always wanted a Ducati 999R, but it came out. I was only about 16 or 17 when it came out. But, yeah, that's pretty much it. I did get my transmitter back for my, just to add. I did get my DX7S back. I've already taken my plane out for a hover flight just to make sure everything worked. It does work fine, but I didn't actually, I stayed in multi-rotor mode. I flipped into plane mode for a sec, but then went back to multi-rotor mode just to make sure that it would even try to transition. It did. Let me make sure that there's nothing that I'm missing. Oh yeah, the drive, you have the gears over here on this side, and then there's a shaft through the center, which there is the pinion gear over here. You have two pinion gears. You have the pinion gear on the motor, then you have the spur gear for the shaft, then you have a pinion gear for the chain, and then a spur gear in the rear, a driven gear at the rear, and it turns. Yeah. When I had it running, it vibrates, and I had it on a hard surface, and it liked to move forward a little. After this video, I'm probably going to start it up. So that's it. That's a Thunder Tiger 999R Testastretta. So thanks for watching, and stay tuned for more videos of this, running videos, reviews. It's very hard to find these, but if you can and you want it, you're gonna pay a pretty penny. Originally they were like $250, $300. Now they're around $500 now, so I'm paying a little less than that. But yeah, they're fun. Just waiting for a digital receiver now, and it will be going. I'm actually gonna pause this and see if I can get it started. Got it started. To get it started, initially you have to take off the crash bars, the fairing, and the top. And well, you don't have to take off the top, but it's just easier, and start it. But after you get that done, you take the top off. You can put everything back on, and you have to do this relatively quickly because, like I said, with the exhaust pointing straight up, all the oil likes to go right back into the motor. So you take the top off because it actually covers the glow plug somewhat, and then go have fun. Right there, I just pinched the line from the fuel tank to the carb. It revved up for a second and then shut down. But now, after you're done running it, you have to set it up like this and lean it up against something, because that will allow all the unburnt oil, it doesn't matter what you have, that allows all the unburnt oil to drop out of this, out of the exhaust pipe. And if you don't do this, because when it's sitting down, the exhaust is facing that, like this way, so almost straight up. If you look at this curve right here, it's basically going that way, so it's sitting straight up. So all that oil is going to, if you turn it over once, all that oil is going to drop down in there, and then the engine is going to, the motor is going to go into hydrolock, the engine, the motor. That's basically, with these motors, the compression, we know that compression and a glow plug is used. Well, compression is used to ignite it, as well as a glow plug, and the methanol creates a catalytic action with the either iridium or platinum glow plug winding, and that's how we get them to run. Well, oh yeah, you also want to turn the flywheel so it's not at top dead center, and it's pretty hard to do with this because it is brand new. But yeah, you can see now there's already some oil on this rag. That is it draining out of the exhaust. And with hydro lock, and that's also why with these like to flood very easily. And that's why when you first get it started, you take the crash bars off, you take the fairing off, and the top. You get it started, and then you put everything back on, and then you run it. Well, because I don't have a transmitter plugged in right now, the servos are free to move, so I'm having to hold. Actually, the idle is actually pretty low because I'd have to hold the shaft and the throttle linkage to close the carburetor. It is a rotary carburetor. It'd be nice if it had a I know the Navarossi has side-mounted servos instead of top and bottom. No, that's the Nuova Feor SF 701. It's $1,000. I already went over that. But yeah, with this you have to be careful. Well, I'm sorry. I completely. The servos on the Nuova Feor, they're on the side. There's 3 of them. You have one for the front brake, one for the rear brake. Now, one for the front brake and throttle, one for the rear brake, and one for the steering. Or there's 3 of them. Something like that. I'm pretty sure the front brake and the throttle's on one. You got steering, and then you have your rear brake. And it has a slide carburetor instead of a rotary. Well, this one has a rotary. Still got to figure out a good air filter, because I'm not going to run this with a cheapo air filter like this one right here. I mean, this thing's a piece of junk. It came with the TC3s that I got, and I've completely cleaned those up. I got to go over those again. So yeah, that's the Thunder Tiger. And when you first start it, because it's sitting, there's going to be a little oil that builds up that's going to come out and fall on your tire. You have to either keep your tires wrapped, put something over it, or before you run it, clean them real quickly. And also, like I don't know if I said this, but because they like to flood so easy, you have to set the clutch as high as you can, but you don't want to damage the engine, because you'll bend a connecting rod. I think that's pretty much it. You break it in normally, drop the piston to bottom dead center every time you're done running it, so everything can contract. But that's all nitro. So that is the Thunder Tiger I think it was a FM-1. I can't remember that. I just know it's the Ducati 999R Testastretta, and I can't wait to drive it. But again, waiting for servos and digital servos and a 2.4 gigahertz spectrum receiver. I've been asked by a lot of people, can you add a gyro? No, not really. Gyro would cause too much stuff with the front wheel, and seeing that already when you turn a certain direction, it actually turns the opposite direction to make the bike lean. Yeah, I can't really do that, because as soon as you turn, you let go of the steering and then you steer with the throttle. That's everything I've read. I haven't driven it yet. So thanks for watching like usual, and keep watching and you'll see more of this. I honestly can't wait personally, but I'm going to make sure I have the best parts on here. I'm looking for some front disc brakes, but I'll still run it. And now I got to tighten the front wheels because a nut came out. So thank you for watching.